MrHolster here, just having a little coffee in the tack room this morning. Except for I'm not in the tack room and I don't have any coffee. I'm just at my desk. Got three things I want to talk about. This is going to be a quick update, and I'm going to try and beat the required amount of time Jack requires, if I can. So hang in. We're going to move right along. Number one, Jack wanted me to talk about one thing. You want to talk about an update on what's going on with me and my battle. Number two, Jack wanted me to talk about what we're doing with the channel and this new thing he's got going with Patreon. Number three, he doesn't want me to talk about, but I'm going to. It's Jack's birthday on Saturday. If you're a friend of his on his Facebook page, I encourage you to really let Jack know wish him a happy birthday. He's so excited about this. He's talking about it. He says it's his birthday weekend and it starts on Thursday night at midnight and goes all the way through Sunday night at midnight. And yeah, so you can imagine what it's going to be like. I've already trying to raise the funds if I can in case I have to bail him out. So I thought I'd let you know that so everybody who's a friend of his on Facebook, on Jack Thorfinson's Facebook page, let him know you appreciate him and wish him a happy birthday. Number two, now I've wasted like 2 minutes just talking about Jack's birthday, which he didn't want me to talk about. Number two, I'm going to talk about the changes through our channel and the changes at Patreon. Got something going on here. Jack's got a new format, and he told me what it is, and I said, Jack, that sounds like the old format. And he says, well, yeah, pretty much is with a little twist. I said, what's the twist, Jack? And he says, well, Wednesday morning, we're going to have at 4 a.m. coffee in the tack room. I said, well, we always used to do that, Jack. He says, well, we're going to keep doing it. Saturday morning, we're going to have a new program where we review something. We give a very pleasant review on it, and if you're really interested in it, you can go over to our Patreon page and see an in-depth review of that item. And I said, Jack, that's a good idea. He says, yeah, I thought so too. I said, but you know, we don't have that many Patreon people, Jack. There's only about 60 people that are patrons. And he said, well, he knows that. He knows that. He wished we had more. And I said, Jack, one thing I can tell you right now is I'm glad we got the ones we do because we wouldn't have made it to this last year. Matter of fact, I wouldn't have been able, there was no way I'd been able to have gotten the PET scans I've gotten in the last year without. Matter of fact, the way things were, we're lucky we have our insurance still. If it weren't for the guys on Patreon, we'd be in real trouble. And Jack says, I know, but still, he feels it important that show be on Patreon every Saturday morning, open to anybody. You don't have to be a member to see it, so you watch the show on Saturday morning. If you like it, go over and see the in-depth review on the item over there on Patreon for free. I said, well, okay, Jack, I'll go along with that. And Jack says, and along with that, we're going to throw up a sock show now and then over there on Patreon for free. I said, really? He said, yep, that's where we're going to get some sock shows going. I said, well, I enjoy doing the sock show, Jack. I like reading your jokes off the cards. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have 2 new shows over on the Patreon channel that are free. You don't have to be a Patreon supporter to watch them. Of course, we'd appreciate it if you become a Patreon supporter because without them, I would literally be dead right now. And that's no joke. So there you go. Now that I've wasted 4 minutes of your life, you'll never, ever, ever get back again bringing up the stuff on what we're doing here and on Patreon. Let's get down to MrHolster. I'm going to assume most people watching this know what I'm going through and what's going on, but I'll give you a really brief review of it. 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now, I went to the doctor complaining about what I thought was cancer, and he said, no, it isn't. The mole looks perfectly good. Don't worry about it, and patted my rear end and sent me off. And the problem came back and was worse, and so I went to a dermatologist. And my doctor was wrong. So that has created the last 17 months of chemotherapy and the loss of 15 lymph nodes due to cancer. So the last surgery was in November, and since then I've been put on a pretty healthy regimen of PET scans at 3 months apart, which they cost me about $3 grand, I guess, a pop. And the insurance company picks up the balance. So every 3 months a PET scan, give or take. You know, one time it took 6 weeks to get the insurance company to agree to it. So, yeah, we'll call them averaging every 4 months probably. Since then, they took me off the original chemotherapy. I was on for 7 months because it was like pumping a bag of Zima in me every 2 weeks. It did nothing. And they switched me to a different chemotherapy, which I have to take 2 forms of chemotherapy in the morning and at night every day. And I've been doing that for the last almost 9 months now. Yeah. Along with that, the PET scans, the costly PET scans. Going back to my Patreons again, thank you. And I didn't want to talk about this because I felt it would jinx me, to be honest with you. And I didn't want to talk about this, and I decided with Jack's urging that I do because I think it's only fair to bring everybody up to snuff. So the PET scans, and of course PET scans can find small tumors, but on the other hand, they can't find really small tumors. And nobody will give me the exact size, and I guess it doesn't matter. But so every PET scan I've had since the surgery has been clean. And along with that, I've been taking the chemotherapy, and it's been doing things to my skin, which you'll notice, if you notice on my neck here, I don't know if you can in this light, I've got spots of my skin that I thought I had liver spots to start with, but what it really is a permanent loss of pigmentation in large portions of my skin, which is caused by the chemotherapy. So it is doing something. Yeah. And along with that, I don't know if you can count it as proof, but the clean PET scans are certainly positive. So here we are now. I've got 3.5 months of this chemo treatment I'm taking every day to continue taking, and another PET scan. And if I'm clean, then they're going to say you're in remission, you're cured, you're good to go. But they're going to keep making me come back for those PET scans. So there you go. You know as much as I do about where I'm at, but certainly it's as positive as it can be at this point. I'll tell you that much. And you got to be happy, even though you have to pay for those PET scans. It's hard to get mad at paying for a PET scan that says you're clean. Well, there you go. So, I don't know what else to tell you. Now you know as much as I do about that, but it's certainly all positive. I'm a happy guy, and I'm ready to get to work, and I've been trying to get things done and get to work, but part of the side effects of those chemotherapy, and there's a lot of negative ones which I haven't gotten, like I have not, it's like 7% of the people die of a heart attack due to the chemotherapy. 10% of the people get a different form of cancer due to the chemotherapy. I don't know if it was 5% die of basically bleeding to death through their bowels. A lot of nasty things from this chemotherapy. It's not to be taken lightly. So I've worked hard at doing my research, and I'm on a very weird diet and very stringent regimen of what I can eat and can't eat. And as a result, I've had very, very little side effects from these drugs. Every now and then, if I get really stressed out, like I had a real money problem the last month or so, and I did have a lot of problems. I was getting a lot of the problems. But sometimes I can't get sleep and I get them, but very minor. I've done very, very, very well, and I'm very happy with how I've come through so far, and we're in the end stretch of it. So there you go. I may have jinxed myself by talking about it, but there it is. Now you know everything Mr. Holster knows about that. Thanks for tuning in this morning. I'm sorry I didn't make it under 7.5 minutes. It's going to take almost 10 minutes of your life. You'll never, ever, ever get back again. Thanks for subscribing. If you do subscribe, ring that little bell so you get the announcements of all these new videos we put up. Yeah, baby. Number 2, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. and ring that bell so you get all the announcements, all these new videos Jack and I are going to put up. Patreon's over there. You're going to see a dramatic change in that Patreon page, and I think you're going to like it. And you fellas that are watch this, and gals, if you want to see more information about what you look at, move on over that Patreon account and look at that in-depth video. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time, for Mr. Holster and Jack, go out and stay safe.